I mentioned gaming and the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act that came on in 1988. That act, Congress, so much of what Congress has done has been with a really true interest. Like the Indian Child Welfare Act was truly to help the Indian child, but it's had devastating effects on Indian families. Indian Gaming Regulatory Act was truly intended to help tribal governments become economically self-sufficient. And that didn't happen. Prior to the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, the rest of the folks in the country, we would do destination gaming. You could drive to Vegas or Reno or Tahoe or Atlantic City, and you could go gaming and then come home. With the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, there was an explosion of tribal casinos across the country. 100 formed up within a year or two in California alone. And it became what I call McDonald's for the mob. We had gaming in every community, where anywhere near reservations, even off reservations, near popular freeway exits. All of a sudden, you've got these casinos. Now, what are these casinos doing? First, who built them? Tribal governments did not fund them. The American gaming industry, which should have adamantly opposed that kind of competition, they saw a gold mine. The American gaming industry, the folks that own Stations Casino and MGM and the whole American gaming industry, jumped in quick and fast. They found tribes. They said, we'll buy your land. We'll process your gaming application. We'll build your casino. We'll hire and train your people, and then we'll take a 7-year management contract as our cut. And so the American gaming industry are the people that made it possible for the tribal casinos to just explode. And they're a $30 billion industry now, none of which goes to basic services of their tribal families. It buys legal counsel, it buys land, it buys lobbyists, and here's the other interesting point. The tribal governments are the only governments in our country since the year 2000 that can directly write checks from their general treasury or their casino money to political parties and candidates. No city or town or county or state can participate financially in elections. But in the year 2000, in May of 2000, just before the Bush-Gore election, the Federal Election Commission, a 3-person appointed advisory commission, published one tiny advisory opinion that said, you, New York Oneidas, are governments for purposes of governing and receiving federal subsidies, but you are a person for purposes of participating in our elections. That was one little advisory opinion to one tribe in New York that has been implemented across the country. And now all tribal governments write checks to political parties and elected officials and candidates or challengers or incumbents. And that has tipped the scale of political power and influence of these 567 tribes that are taking down the sovereignty of states that are their hosts. This is a huge problem, huge problem. And it's another thing that is eroding the economy of every city that has a tribal casino. Their money is tax exempt. All the disposable money in that community that goes into slot machines or gaming tables is money not going into the local businesses. Local businesses cannot compete with the tribal businesses that they fund. So local communities, municipalities that are host to these casinos have to provide all the services, the sewer and water and police and all the services for which they do not get paid. And they have to watch their retail and goods and services, non-tribal businesses, fold up shop. And then the municipalities' budgets dwindle, the county budgets dwindle, the state budgets dwindle, and these tribes are taking over, and tribal government and tribalism as a governing system is rolling across this country. And nobody's hearing that alarm. And it's time to.